Welcome back to another episode of Decide to Heal. I am your host, Alejandra Crisafulli, and I just got off of an incredible coaching call. And it was something that, the moment we were talking about it, I knew I needed to share it with you because this is a topic that I know you struggle with. How do I know that? Every single human being struggles with this topic, which is behaviors. Yeah, behaviors. These are things that you do repeatedly again and again, and they are things that either you're not aware of, but they are causing havoc in your life. There's something that is a type of cycle that you're stuck in, and you don't even recognize what the behavior is that's causing you to be within that cycle. You're just recognizing the cycle and I cannot keep doing this. Or you're very aware that you have a particular type of behavior that continues to limit you, block you, and yes, sabotage you. So in traditional self-help models, we talk about self-sabotaging behaviors. And this is obviously, again, a topic I hear a lot, having been in the industry for as long as I have. And, it used to really irk me when people talked about sabotaging behaviors, self-sabotaging behaviors, because even though they are sabotaging, you can absolutely be free from these behaviors, but not the way in which traditional self-help teaches. So I wanted to come on real quick. It's going to be a short episode today and teach you the 180 method way that has made the difference in my clients' lives and in my own life of being able to break free from the sabotaging. I'm using quotations if you're not watching this on YouTube. I've got my quotation fingers going. The sabotaging behaviors. You have total power to be free from them. However, it's overcoming them that becomes a challenge and where we get tripped up on. Overcoming them, trying to change them, trying to get rid of them. This is where we typically stumble over ourselves and will fall into a 360. Now, before I keep going, let's just define what a behavior actually is. Super simple. A behavior is an action. It's a way in which you act. And behaviors are these things that we do outwardly, but it's also something that we do inwardly to ourselves. So don't think of it as just I'm a people pleaser and I can't say no. So my behavior is constantly saying yes to things, even when I don't want to say yes. Okay, that would be an outside type demonstrated behavior. But you also would do that behavior to yourself. So how would that look as a flipped around into yourself behavior? That would look more of you not being able to say no to yourself. You might be struggling with overeating. You might be struggling with overdoing things at work. You might be struggling with setting intentional time for your devotional in the morning and spending time with God in a prayerful, meditative state. You're pleasing yourself through doing something that you don't want to be doing, which I know sounds so contradictory, but that's what that behavior looks like when it's done internally. So not only are you saying yes to the things outside of yourself that you don't want to be saying yes to, but you're also saying yes to the things internally that you don't want to be saying yes to. Or you can flip it and say it like this. You're not saying no to the things that you really should be saying no to outwardly, and you're not saying no to the things that you should be saying no to inwardly. You follow me? Okay. So behaviors, ways in which you act. You do them outwardly. You also do them internally. Now, behaviors, Yeah. The reason why there's such a big struggle in life is because they are learned from a really young age. I mean, think about this for a second. It's not like all of a sudden one day you were like, hey, I'm going to take on this behavior of being defensive. I think that sounds cool. Why not? I'm going to be defensive. Or, hey, you know what? I think I'll be manipulative. That sounds awesome. Like, yeah, that sounds like a good thing to be doing. Let me go ahead and be manipulative. No, it doesn't happen like that. Behaviors are learned, and that there is something that triggers you into a behavior. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. But let's actually look at some of the common behaviors that I see in women, especially high performing women. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a top CEO, or you're the mom CEO of your home, this is these are the main behaviors that I see happen. Controlling. Yes, controlling. We love to be in control. Perfectionist. Oh yeah, we need and want things to be perfect. Avoidance. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to even look at that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to have to be at the effect of that. Total avoidance. Manipulation, defensive, judgmental, and critical. Now, there are many, many, many more behaviors that we do as human beings, but those are the ones that I see typically happening the most as high-performing women. Those are the go-to places. Now, out of those, there are typically 3 that dominate. They are the ones that we feel the safest in and that give us the most benefit. I'll explain that in just a moment. But there are 3 that dominate. So I want you to take a moment here and reflect back on yourself. You probably are already doing that as I'm talking about this and thinking about, yeah, what are the behaviors that I do? Ooh, yep, I am the perfectionist. Oh, I hate that I'm controlling, but that is very true about myself. And listen, it's not fun to acknowledge these things, but if you don't acknowledge them, it's part of what continues the pattern of being stuck in them. And I know, my friend, you do not want to be stuck anymore, that you've decided to heal. And in order to heal, you have to be able to acknowledge the truth of what it is that you are doing and why you are doing it. Very important. So, what behaviors are your dominant? And if you can identify 3, awesome. That's amazing. These behaviors, as I mentioned, again, you don't just like all of a sudden one day decide, you know what, I think I'm going to be controlling. That sounds like a good idea. Or, yeah, I don't like this, so I'm totally going to avoid. I think that sounds like a good idea. Why don't I just do that? It doesn't happen that way. These behaviors are actually learned, and they're learned during a time of our life where we don't feel good. Like something is happening that we don't understand intellectually. We don't know rationally what is actually occurring. All we know is that the emotion that is within us, the feelings that we are embodying and carrying, are sucky. They do not feel good. We feel bad, and we do not want to feel bad. Who likes to feel bad? We all want to feel safe and okay and like we're good. We all want that. So during this time in life where something doesn't feel good, guess what you're going to do? You're going to seek ways to feel better. Now, yes, it all comes back to childhood, okay? So these not good feeling times are times in your childhood. And during that time, the part of the brain that can think more rationally, can see a bigger picture, is not yet developed. That part of the brain is called the neocortex. You may have heard me talk about this if you tune in every week, which I hope you do. The neocortex is that rational thinking part of the brain. When you learn 2 + 2 = 4, it gets stored up there in that neocortex to be drawn upon at a later time when you need that. It's also this part of the brain that can rationalize. It can think things through. So if you're in a situation as a child where something doesn't feel good, like let's say parents arguing, and they're arguing about finances, or they're arguing about dad's drinking, and you're in the living room experiencing them yelling and screaming at each other, you can't rationalize in that moment. They're not mad at you. It's nothing that you have done that has created this situation going on. You don't have that capacity. What you do have is the experience of the feelings, the energetic exchange that is happening between mom and dad, and it does not feel good. So when we don't feel good, it basically equals not safe. So make sure you put a pin in this. When we don't feel good, it equals not safe. This is why we all want to feel good. We all want to be okay. We all want to be normal. That's because in the normality, in the good feeling, I'm safe. Everything's okay. That's basically the human goal for us, is to feel safe. But in that intense moment, when you don't have that rational part of the brain developed yet, you don't know that you are safe. All you feel is not good, which means not safe to you. So when we don't feel safe, when we don't feel good, we're going to go to all means possible to try and feel good, right? That's what you do today in your adult life as well. You don't feel good. You don't feel safe. You're going to do what you need to do in order to make sure that things are safe. You do this for your children. You make sure if they don't feel safe, like their safety is your top priority. So when we don't feel safe, you will do something to try and make yourself feel safe. Now, as a child, because that rational part of the brain is not being developed yet, you look to mom and dad. They're the ones that are supposed to save you. They're the ones that are supposed to take care of you. So in a household where that dynamic was not happening, very hard to develop a true sense of self and a true connection with God and fully trusting Him, because you didn't have that foundation in which to stand upon in the family dynamic. It was always an unsafe environment, and you could not look to mom or dad to help you feel safe. But what you did do is learn behavior. Even if the dynamic in your household wasn't anything that we would label as traumatic or horrible or bad or really awful, it was just maybe like not a positive environment. It was just, just kind of meh, okay. Or even if it was good, there were still times where you did not feel good. So, behaviors being learned, you look to mom and dad because they are the ones who are supposed to make you feel good. It's just innate. That's who we go to. That's who we look to. Now, mom and dad have learned their own behaviors back from their childhood because they were going through the same thing themselves. And then their parents learned from their parents because they were going through the same thing when they were a child. Are you following me here? Essentially, these behaviors have been passed down generationally. And my friend, it can stop with you. You can break a generational pattern of behaviors now. Even if you have adult children and you've already passed on behaviors to them, it doesn't matter. You can still be the one to break the generational pattern. So we learn behavior by observation. So let's say that you observe mom doing the controlling thing. Let's say that's one of your dominating behaviors. So you observe, let's do perfectionist actually. Let's say that you observe mom being a perfectionist. And as you're observing how she's doing that, you would do it. You learn how to do it. You apply it, because as children, we learn through observation the most within our environment. By the way, these behaviors are mainly being learned between the ages of 3 and 5. That is very much so a time in a child's life where they're learning through experiential experiences. Like that's how we learn. And so we're observing, we're touching, we're applying, and we learn so much during that time. So taking on that perfectionist behavior was very easy for you to watch mom and then do it yourself. And the moment you did that behavior, guess what? You felt better. It took away the bad, unsafe feeling. So you know what happens? The brain, I'm going to call it more specifically, the ego that edges God out, attaches to that behavior and says something to you like, okay, anytime I have this bad, yucky feeling, all I have to do is this controlling thing and I'm going to be better. I'm going to feel better. Anytime I don't feel safe because I feel bad, all I have to do is this controlling thing and I'll be okay. Everything will be fine. It'll be all right. But it is not all right, because it perpetuates a pattern, a habit, a cycle that does not actually serve you in any way, especially as an adult. It did save you as a child, but it is killing you as an adult. Let me say that again, because that is a very important point. It saved you as a child, but it is killing you as an adult. So here's what I mean by that. When you first learned the behavior, it gave you a benefit. It's called a hidden benefit. Hidden because you might be thinking like, yeah, I can see that me being a perfectionist or me being defensive or avoiding things or controlling stuff is not actually serving me. And at the end of the day, doesn't make you feel safe. You know how you know that? You keep having to do it. You keep doing them, which means you don't ever feel truly safe. It's like you need the behavior in order to feel safe. That does not serve you, my friend, at all. Okay? Now, as a child, the way that you're looking at it is that it did work. It did give you some kind of a benefit at that point. Okay, I share so much with you guys. Let me just write myself a note, otherwise I will forget where to come back to. When I was in high school, it was a time in life where I just did not feel good about myself. I was very much so in this insecure, like self-loathing. Yeah, I really hated myself, and it showed up in many ways. The lack of confidence that I displayed, and for no reason, really. There was no reason why I should have felt that way, but I did. And nothing felt good. Okay, so there was this constant state of not being safe. So I remember like dealing with all of these feelings, not knowing what to do with them. I went to a party. And while I was at this party, everyone looked so happy. They were just like, yeah, I was happy, joyful. And I wanted to feel that. I wanted that same feeling. So I'm like, what is making these people so happy? Well, it was cocaine. Yeah. So unfortunately, in high school, cocaine was the drug of choice. It was rampantly like available during that time. And seeing all of these kids be ridiculously happy because of it, I didn't care. I just wanted that same feeling. So I decided I'm going to do one. I'm going to do a line. I did a line and I felt amazing. It was like, oh my gosh, where has this been my whole life? Why did I not know about this before? This feeling is awesome. And then the come down started happening. I started to not feel good again, and it was more intense now. And I literally remember having this thought, it's okay, just do more. So that's what I did. It's like, okay, I'm going to do more. So I did another line, got the high, and then started to get the come down, didn't feel good again. That's okay, just do more. Boom, did it again, felt high, But every time I did it, the high got less and less and less. It did not have the same impact that it did the very first time that I did it, to the point where then I became addicted to it. Your behaviors are the same way. As a child, it saved you because it gave you a high, took away the bad, unsafe feeling, and it made you feel good. So the brain literally, the mind was literally thinking, it's okay, just do more. Example, let's say that you grew up in a household where maybe you had an alcoholic parent, let's say father. They came home smelling a certain way, acting a certain way. You knew that it was not a good idea to be around when he smelled, acted, or looked like that. So you learned to avoid, just like mom did. Mom avoided. That was the behavior you observed from her. You learned that same behavior because you were not safe when dad came home smelling, acting, looking like that. So to avoid, you would go run into your room, hide in the closet, close the door, and play with your toys. And all was good. Nothing happened. But if you didn't do that, you didn't avoid, then bad stuff happened and it wasn't safe. Fast forward now to an adult. You still have that same behavior. And even though now you don't go run into the closet and close the door and play with your toys, you do avoid your husband. Maybe he has a drink. He's not even an alcoholic, but he comes home smelling like a glass of wine, like nothing major, but it doesn't matter. It triggers the same exact emotion or feeling of unsafe in you. And you're immediately reacting from an avoiding behavior. And you're like, I don't even want to talk to him. I don't even want to look at him. Like, I am done. And you're like out and you either go to your room and shut the door and don't talk to him. That is not healthy for your relationship. So what saved you as a child is now killing you as an adult. You with me? Okay. So the main point I want to finish up on is something that is so relevant to the behavior, which is the trigger. And this is the main difference between traditional self-help and what we do as coaches to helping people heal through the 180 method. In traditional self-help, they will focus on helping you overcome your behaviors, get rid of your behaviors, especially those dominant ones that are obviously not serving you. Like we've seen, I hope you've seen through today how much behaviors are dominant in your life and how they genuinely don't serve you. So traditional self-help focuses on let's get rid of the behavior. Here's a couple of challenges with that though. One is that you have had these behaviors for a really long time. They are part of what the ego uses to maintain your safety. Remember ego, edging God out? So if you try and take away the behaviors from the ego that uses these behaviors, you know what it's like? Have you ever had maybe your own kids or yourself, if you remember this as a child, or just imagine taking away a baby's binky or nummy or whatever you call the sucky thing that babies have? It's like, that's their comfort. If you take that thing away from them, it is like all you know what has broken loose. It is not okay. That's what that's like to say to the ego, I'm going to take these behaviors from you. It doesn't work out very well. And if it does, it's going to be short-lived. It won't be long lasting. These behaviors are so ingrained in you. They're so ingrained in us that they have become the natural way of acting, even when you don't want to do it. So it doesn't help to try and get rid of them. The other main reason why in the 180 we don't focus on that is because what you resist will persist. You may have heard that before, but think about that for a moment. What you resist will persist. Don't think about your nose. Don't you dare think about your nose. Don't you do it. Don't you even think about your nose. What are you thinking about? Your nose, right? Because you have to think about something in order to not think about it. And the more you're trying not to think about it, the more you're thinking about it. It doesn't work. Resistance only causes things to be more dominant in your life. And these behaviors are already dominating on their own. That's not what we need. That's not what you need. So if that's not the answer, then what is? It is healing the trigger to your behaviors. Again, how I've mentioned, behaviors don't just all of a sudden one moment you're like, you know what? I think I feel like being defensive. Let me go ahead and do that. No, something triggers the behavior to come out. And it is so unconscious, this trigger, that this behavior comes out. The trigger is what we focus in on in the 180 method. When you have healing of the trigger, the behavior doesn't happen. Let me share an analogy with you. Think about a gun for a moment. Look at your behaviors as the bullets in a gun. There is a trigger for the bullets to be able to come out of the gun, right? If that trigger is not pulled, what happens to the bullets? They don't come out. There's no need for them. It doesn't come out. The same is true for your behaviors. If the trigger is not, quote unquote, pulled, behavior doesn't come out. But the moment the trigger is pulled, bullets coming out. Same with behaviors. The moment the trigger happens, bullets coming out. This is another reason why we don't focus on the behavior themselves, because it's almost like if a bullet is coming out of the gun, can you stop it? Can you put your hands up and be like, no? Even a bulletproof vest, the bullet's still going to come at you. It's going to be very hard. There's no stopping it. It is coming out once the trigger is pulled. But if the trigger is not pulled, no bullet. The same is with the behaviors. So I was sharing this with my client today, and we were uncovering what her trigger is. And let me give you some background. She grew up in a household where there was a lot of arguments happening between mom and dad. And it felt like this constant, walking on eggshells. She had to always be walking on eggshells, to the point where she actually was mute for several years, because if she spoke, then she would be a part of the chaos and the conflict, and better to just be the good girl than to cause more trouble. All right. So always walking on eggshells. The environment always felt very toxic, very aggressive. And it was like everything was on edge all the time. Her dominating behaviors are avoidance, perfectionist, and controlling, all fitting perfectly into this environment. Now think about how a child would look at those experiences. If she said anything, if she did anything that would cause trouble, again, I'm doing quotation marks, quote unquote trouble, oh no, that's when things would go really bad for her. So again, better to control and hold things in, be the good girl by being a perfectionist, or completely avoid, and not to the point of not even having a voice. It all came back to, I don't want to get in trouble, or I am in trouble. So being in trouble is her trigger. Fast forward to present day. Anytime there's any even remote experience that's similar to her walking on eggshells. She was sharing with me about her sister, that she didn't want to take a phone call from her sister because her sister is very much so like her mother, and always feels like every time she talks to her, she has this very, very uneasy feeling, not good feeling. That not good feeling is the trigger. Okay. You not being safe leads to the not feeling good. That all equals the trigger for you. So for her, not feeling safe around her sister because she's very much so like her mother made her feel not good. That not good feeling ended up being the trigger, which is I'm in trouble. Like I'm going to get in trouble. I'm about to be in trouble or I am in trouble. So better just to avoid sister and not talk to her. Oh, can you see the cycle? And then how that gets repeated. That's just one example of one day. These get repeated. This trigger is all over the place at work, in your business, with your family, with your spouse, with God even. Okay, so the moment I was sharing with her, our whole goal isn't to get rid of these behaviors or try and overcome them. Our goal is to have healing of the trigger. It was a visceral experience of literally release. Complete surrendering happened. And I even stopped her because she was mid-sentence about something. And I was like, hold on, what did you just feel? And she was like, oh my gosh, I feel such a sense of freedom and relief that we're going to be healing this trigger. I don't have to do all this work to try and get rid of the behavior, because at the end of the day, guess what you're going to be using to try and get rid of your behaviors? Your behavior. If we were to try and get rid of her perfectionist behavior, she would be using control in order to get rid of the perfectionist. It's like we would just end up using more behavior, and that's not the intention. The intention is freedom, and the end result, healing. And you know what healing gives you? Closer to connection to God. This was juicy. Oh my goodness. All right. So I hope you followed along, because that is a lot to digest and take in. These are juicy. So I invite you to rewatch this, download, review, please. It's, this is a new podcast and this information is so, I just want to get it into more hands, because it is so important for us to stop the cycles and to get into a place of reconnecting with God and surrendering our ego. It is time. You do not need to keep going down the same path you have. So when you download and review, it does something to the analytics and it puts this in front of more people. So I appreciate you for so much, just so much. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day, for tuning in and listening. And I hope that you look for what could your trigger be and what are your dominating behaviors. And if you want to know what to do with them, let's get on a coaching call. Let's do one live together on a podcast. How amazing would that be? I would love to support you through that. Okay, thank you. I will see you next time on the next episode of Decide to Heal.